laughing about, I agree with what you said about we should be able to laugh about everything, and we are in a time where everything is woke, and like you can't say
Hmm.
anything and you can't joke about anything when you see. Whereas, I just, before we got on this call, I watched a video about a girl making fun of herself on her period, and a black guy making fun of black people, and a gay guy making fun of gay people. And and then you get to this thing of, yeah, but they're allowed to do it because it's their thing and blah blah blah. It's like, if we get into a thing where we cannot have a conversation, like I can't have a conversation with a black dude about being black, and he can't have a conversation with me about being a woman, then it takes away from everything. So I agree that we have to be able to laugh about everything, and we are in this kind of woke, politically correct, where we can't say anything because somebody's going to take offense, and then it's going to be an uproar about something. I agree with that. But I kind of also agree that this type of film is normalizing this type of behavior, and it wasn't even because the problem with the film, again, it's taking it deep, is that it was not only satire. It was it wasn't this kind of 21 Jump Street over the top ridiculous
Hmm.
throughout. They tried to make it deep at some points. They became friends, and she sold her house to her friends who are having a baby, and it's her mum's house, and they are trying to make it real. And by trying to make it real, it is kind of normalizing. You're either being completely ridiculous about it throughout, of the A Team or things like that, where it's just, not the A Team, a very bad trip and things like that, where it is just ridiculous throughout. Or you're making a film about, this is the social pressure of teens to be sexually active, and parents forcing their teenagers into something that they're not comfortable doing and things like that. But you can't be doing both, because otherwise it's a mixed message. And I think sadly that's what happened with the film. It became a mixed message of, so maybe this type of thing is okay because actually everybody's a human and blah blah blah. Well, if everybody is a human, then everybody needs to, be left alone and do whatever they need and feel is good for them.
Yeah. And it's also sort of a double standard because in real life you'll go and you'll criticize people for doing such things or certain people for doing this thing, but then you'll laugh about it in the cinema and you'll sort of start nitpicking who's allowed and who isn't allowed to do certain things and what is normal, what isn't normal. And I don't know. Well, every person should do what's best for them. Yeah, I don't think anything should be normalized. Like, the abnormal should be normal. But this film does very much encourage this sort of like sense of it's just weird to be a virgin or it's weird to not have sexual relations. It's, I don't know, it's normal to have your parents pimp you out. It's normal to have a friend, even without sexual relations, who is like double your age or almost double your age. It's just very weird to me. Like, what are you doing at a teenager's party? Like, what? Like, I feel like it's not only also for her, this is holding you back from living your life. You're sort of staying back in, and she's kind of immature in herself. Like, that's kind of also part of it. And she's like sort of, it's holding, I feel like it's really holding her back. And there is that issue where it's not a parody and it's not a complete satire. I don't think it like, because it does have those deep moments where it's sharing deep morals and takeaways for the viewers. So how are they supposed to differentiate between what they're supposed to take
Yeah.
away or what they're supposed to take seriously and what they're not supposed to take seriously? So
Yeah, I agree. Is, how do you differentiate? And then if you go in the discussion of, oh, but people should, know better, and I mean, I am going to throw shade on Jennifer Lawrence. I mean, there's no use in me saying no shade, obviously. Um, I think this is a film that I was excited because I love her. She's a funny person in interviews. I
Hmm.
think the only reason she took this role is probably because she just needed the money. And then a lot of actors take these films that are just beneath their standards because they end up, needing the money. And when you look at the whole career retrospect of an actor, there are some films in there that you think, why did they do that? Well, they probably did that
Hmm.
because they've been out of work for a couple of years because, there was COVID and then she had her baby and things like that. And so she needed the money. And that's probably what she ended up doing, why she ended up doing this type of film,
Yeah.
and that's what happened. And so now she's defending the film by saying people are taking it too seriously, it's not that deep, and it's just a light-hearted film. And so I agree about, some of it is going a bit too deep, but the message of just the film being made and having this double standard, as you say, and we're trying to be funny but real at the same time in an hour and a half, it's just not possible.
No. And look, at the end of the day, really, the premise itself is just isn't funny to me. I don't find this topic. And again, humor is very personal and individual, and each person finds different things funny. But I just don't find this funny. And even more than that, and what's most hypocritical here, if the roles were reversed, this film probably wouldn't have been made, but like it would have been canceled off right to start with. If it was a male in his 30s and a teenage girl, people would have been burning this. This
Yeah,
wouldn't have been like even possible. And that's like the crazy thing to me. And it emphasizes the double standard even more, because she's the woman and she's the older one, and it's kind of cool and it's sexy and it's whatever. And I don't know even what this, I kind of sort of also lost like what this film was trying to say at the end of the day. I think it could have had like a good space to sort of actually, I don't know,
I agree.
show us.
I agree. I'm trying to think of it now. So the reason I went was purely Jennifer Lawrence. I
Yeah.
have stopped looking at trailers and things like that because you're always disappointed. So I heard that
Mm-hmm.
she was coming out with a new film, that it was going to be a comedy, and I literally stayed away from all of the information. And then I kind of came across the information that it was going to be her trying to get a younger guy out of his shell. And so I thought, okay, and I'll see how that goes. That's all that I knew of it.
Yeah.
And so the beginning, I kind of did feel uncomfortable when she was she was completely overly sexual, and I thought this is very uncomfortable. Not uncomfortable in the this is pervy, uncomfortable in this is just badly made.
Yeah.
This is just badly made.
Again, and again, like you were saying also about coming out of your shell, which is a point that to me is very sensitive, because I was also a very closed off person. I was very quiet in high school, and I kept to myself most of the time. Well, I still do sometimes, but that's besides the point. I think coming out of your shell is not something that you can force someone. And I think if anything, forcing them to do it, especially when it comes to sexual interactions, is very traumatizing. Yes, they made fun of it and they laughed about it, but this is traumatizing for a kid, especially when you find out that your parents had to pay someone to do it. But just in general, I feel like each person should be able to come out of their shell whenever they're ready for it. And excuse me, not everyone flourishes in high school. And you know what? I don't think anyone should like. I don't think you should flourish in high school, or at least not like your most thriving period of your life, because it isn't. I feel like, some people flourish after because they just can't find themselves in high school, and that's okay. So they do it in college or while traveling or while, learning new things and different
Or
and,
in
and,
their
and
30s.
exploring. Exactly. Oh my God, don't get me started about our 30s. I feel like that's the prime year, the prime decade of our lives. But I was yesterday listening to an audiobook, and it was talking about how our prefrontal cortex doesn't fully develop until the age of 25. So until the age of 25, we're pretty much, driven by our emotions. and feelings, and we're sort of, I call it our stupid period, where we just do stupid things just to conform or to fit in or for popularity, or just because we don't have that, that filter that we get afterwards, especially in our 30s. And I'm probably digressing here, but at that point you're sort of already maturing, you're already focusing on other experiences. And so, to connect it to the film and to to the point, for a 30-year-old woman to suddenly, I don't know, go back, and I feel like her motive wasn't even strong enough. Like, just so you can get a car, that's not a strong enough motive.
Yeah, at least get a decent chunk of money. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I know it seems like selling her soul to the devil. But yeah, I mean, this took an interesting turn. I was just kind of thinking only of the social pressure around needing to fit in and conform, but you're right. I mean, you're right in all the other aspects of it. And but yeah, let people be, and and it's by doing this type of thing of forcing people into fitting into this norm of just, you're 18, you need to be having sex. I mean, I think sex is such an, and this is from somebody who only realized this recently, but I think sex is such an important part of life that it shouldn't be
Mm-hmm.
taken lightly, and especially your first time, because you're going to remember that one forever. And it's not going to mold the rest of your sexual life, but it is going to just stay with you and evolve in your mind, and you're going to make it mean different things throughout your life of just, was it meaningful, was it the right person, did it go the way you hoped, did you go the way you thought it would go, and things like that. And making light of it is, it's the same as, it would be the same as making light of driving a car or getting hammered or things like that. It's just, this is your life and your health and safety you're taking into your own hands. So, it's your body, do with it what you will, but the people around those people need to make sure that they know what it actually is and give it the proper meaning.
Mm-hmm.
Because the result of sex, people who will say things like, oh, it's just sex, it's just like a workout, it's just like going for a meal with friends, it's not that deep, it's just pleasure, it's having fun. Well, no, because
No, it isn't.
the result of sex can be an unwanted pregnancy, which there's a whole debate, there's a whole subject around that. And it can also be, STDs and things like that. And even, not everybody wears a condom the right way. And even if they do, they can break, and there can be huge consequences to that. So yeah, it's not just sex and just pleasure. It is a lot of things. And some of it can be, extreme, a lot of it can be extremely good, but the small things that go wrong are completely traumatizing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just like, if you go to a restaurant and have a nice meal, then you're having a nice meal. If it's not a nice meal, then you just spent money on something that you didn't enjoy. Whereas if you there's something wrong with the sex, well, it